Good day. Welcome to In the Zone. I am Craig Zimmerman, and I am here with a longtime education teacher here, Mrs. Brosky.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, pretty busy in your neighborhood and in your education field, kids, all that good stuff. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
Let's start from the bottom, as I'll call it, and I'll say, tell us, for some of these people that don't know you, you're a teacher and teaching in the elementary schools, and we'll go into that a little bit, but they don't know where you're from, where you came from, who you came from. So tell us where you're born and raised.
All right. Well, I am Lisa Broskey, as you spoke, and I am from the Macomb area. I grew up at North River Road, down on the lake, and my dad is Len Carnegie, and my mom is Marilyn Carnegie. Family of 5, I'm the middle. Went to elementary school at the local Catholic school, St. Mary's in Mount Clemens, which I think is St. Peter's.
Okay.
Went on to high school at Bishop Gallagher High School down in Harper Woods.
Starting to date yourself with that.
I did, because it's not open anymore.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that is my dad used to drop us off at 15 in Harper. We'd get on the SEMTA bus and take that down to Harper Woods.
Wow.
You had to catch the 4 o'clock bus on the way back because it was getting dark and dangerous then. I met my husband, Matt Brosky, who also went to Bishop Gallagher, and we graduated in 1986.
Okay.
Right? 86, yeah. Went to college together at Central Michigan University, and I became a teacher. And he graduated with a hotel restaurant management degree, but now does finance.
Yep.
We graduated, and a couple years later had our first child, Nick Brosky, who is now 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a teacher in Port Huron. He teaches middle school special ed. And
he still works a little bit in the summertime.
He does. He works for Cody Alul, a construction company in the summer, and does concrete. Yep. Loves that. He's an outside guy. And he's married to another teacher, Sam Jabriel, who's a local girl.
Where's Sam teach?
Sam teaches in Port Huron.
Also, they're both up there.
Yep.
Okay.
And she teaches at the Early Childhood Center, the GSRP Early Childhood Center.
Okay.
And then I have my daughter, Leah, who is a teacher.
She's a chip off the old block.
She is a chip off the old block. She graduated from Oakland University. Nick graduated from Central, and Sam from State. Leah teaches kindergarten at Pine River, the local elementary. And then I have my twins, Buddy, whose name is Matthew, but Buddy has a very cool job. He is a graduate of Michigan Ross Business School, but he's living the dream right now. He works at Ole Miss and in the football program. Went from Michigan's football program as a grad assistant or an undergrad to Ole Miss, or Central, took a stop at Central during COVID. And now he works at Ole Miss in his second year and works with the scout team and the safeties under Chris Partridge, the defensive coordinator. Loving it, living the dream. Go Rabs.
that is a thing that, from a young person's perspective, doing a job like that, it probably doesn't feel like a job.
No, he just loves it.
I love to do it. Yeah.
It's hard work. He works a lot of hours and works very difficult times and long hours. And not only do they do football, but they do recruiting. And
it's 12 months.
It is very busy. In fact, he was just home for the weekend, so it was nice to have him on their bye. And then my youngest twin daughter is a kindergarten teacher in East Lansing at Green Elementary, and she's in her second year, living the life there, and loves it so much. So we're a house divided. We're Michigan and Sparties, and life is good.
So with basically 3 teachers in the household, if you will, the 2 children and daughter-in-law, or is there 4?
4.
4, right?
Yeah.
Do they ever ask your advice?
Yeah, we do. It's nice because my 3 girls, I say, are all early childhood, so they work in the same clientele that I work, lower elementary. And my son doing middle school special ed, a lot of his kids are at the ability level of my kids. So sometimes my husband has to leave the table because it's all teacher talk. Teacher talk all the time. So we laugh about that, and That's great.
So let's talk about when you came to East China Public Schools and back in the early 90s.
Well, it's a funny story.
Where you started.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I graduated from Central, and my roommate was Lisa Higgins, who was Lisa Buslet back then, and she's from this area, and she called me on the phone and she said, Lisa, I just interviewed for a job in East China. Do you want to come work there? They have an early childhood position.
Can I guess? You said, where's East China?
I said it. I said, where is East China? And at that time, you didn't have Google to Google where East China was. And she, told me where it was. And I went for the interview and got the job. And I had to take a drive out there beforehand because I'm like, I don't even know where East China is. And got hired. And that was in 90. So this is year 32 for me.
So was Tom Shorkey the superintendent then?
Ken Wingate first. And then Tom Shorkey stepped in. Yeah. Yeah, after Ken got ill. Yeah.
So what school did you start at?
I started out teaching young fives. So I taught young fives at Central Office for 2 years and in 90 and 91. And then I moved to Washington Elementary in Marine City, where I had your two lovely children. I had Aubrey in 94, I think. 94, 95. And then I have the picture to prove it. And then I had Chad in 97, 97, 98. Most of my years have been in first grade. I taught young fives for 2 years. I taught second grade for a year, a 1-2 split for a year, and then the rest of it's been in first grade.
So I had a conversation with a couple teachers, and going back a ways, the question was, how long have you been doing it? And one of them answered, well, I've got kids that are in their 50s that I taught, and I said, no, you've got some that are close to 60, because I was one of them.
You were one of them. Oh my gosh, I have had now.
Fred Shaw.
Oh yes, gosh, he retired how many years?
I don't even know.
He was a teacher for a very long time.
Yes.
Like I said, this is year 32 for me. And I've now had 2 kids that I've had their parents. I had Ryan Shemansky from Marine City. I had him a couple years ago, and I had his mom, Renee. And then this year I have Colby Schweihofer, and I had her dad, Sammy.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that is funny.
It's coming around.
Yep. So when did you decide you wanted to be a teacher?
Oh, I know that one. There was a teacher when I went to St. Mary's in Mount Clemens. She was my 8th grade teacher. 7th grade, Mrs. Bell. And Mrs. Bell was one of those teachers that she made learning not just bookwork. It was, let's learn about life, let's learn about where things are in the world. When we talk about social studies, she always pulled out the map and showed you where it was. And it was the first time that I really stepped back and said, she taught me something. I learned a lot from her. She did something called the Ethnic Festival, where each grade level would study a country, and you would bring in a food and dance. You would learn to dance from that country, and she made it engaging, and she made it hands-on. And I think she was truly the one that started. You know, when you're a little girl, I think I wanted to be a vet, and then I realized I didn't like blood and guts, and but I think she was truly the one that inspired me.
And what mentors would you list?
Oh gosh, I have some mentors, old and young. I do. One of the people that I admire as an educator very much, and it is not necessarily as that we teach the same thing, but it's Jan Cornish. And Janet is very, has always been one to form relationships with kids and out in the community. She's Mama Corn. Kids love her. They see her in the hallway and they can be having the worst day ever, and she brings out that you are loved and respected. And I have always thought that that's the person that I wanted to be. And I feel like I do a pretty decent job of that. People always say, boy, you're famous. You know, you go to the grocery store. My husband won't even go with me anymore because it takes me an hour just because I have to say hi and hug everybody in the grocery store. Yeah. But I think she, as far as what I desire to be, a person that builds relationships, she's one of the ones that really inspires me. My kindergarten team at my current building are a group of ladies that really work well together. They know what's best for kids. They're very early childhood focused. And I really love that about them. And I look at our building, and this year I have 2 new teaching partners who are young, and I want that for us. I feel like we are heading in that direction. Early childhood is really near and dear to my heart, even though the state and the national curriculum is getting harder and harder and harder. And everything that was taught in 2nd grade is now taught in 1st grade. Everything that was taught in 1st grade is now taught in kindergarten. And for some kids, they still need that early childhoodness.
Sure.
They need those hands-on. They need engagement. And I admire my kindergarten team for that.
Okay.
I also admire my daughters, because as new teachers, they're both, including my daughter-in-law, they hear all the things that are going on in education, and they go to work every day, and they are still very excited to do what they do, and positive, and that's what I love.
Now, being that Leah teaches almost the same as what you teach, do you see a fair amount of you in her, or does it take you back?
It does,
Yeah.
and she had an opportunity to come to 1st grade, and she and I had that conversation at my school, and we talked about being your own person and growing
Right.
your own way, and she's a sunshine over at Pine River, and she's really great. And then my daughter Maddie is growing into kindergarten. She's got a special ed degree and thought maybe she would teach upper L, and got a chance to teach lower L, and she just loves it, and she's rocking it.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Any defining moments in your career?
I can tell you that education has changed over 32 years. When you first start out teaching, you're just trying to do the best you can. You don't know whether you're good or bad.
Right.
You just go into the classroom every day and you're like, oh, this looks cute, let's do this.
Find your
that
way.
looks good. You find your way through. And then probably 15 years ago, or whenever the national standards started to come about, maybe more than that, there's more and more expectations put on you from the government.
Sure.
And that, as a defining moment, is a positive and a negative, because I think sometimes, not to be political,
Yeah,
but I think
yeah.
sometimes people that are making the decisions aren't necessarily the best
Right.
people that have experience in the classrooms to see what kids are really like. Currently, we're dealing with a population of kids with a lot of social emotional needs, and they say, oh, yep, we're doing this and we're doing this, and you got to do this. But they need to really step into an elementary school or even a middle school or a high school and see where these kids are,
Watch
what
it,
trauma
see
they're
it.
come from, where their lives are bringing them to school. Some of them, their best time of day is when they're at school with
Right.
us for 6 hours or
Right.
7 hours. And people that are outside the education world tend to give their opinions often. And it's a very, it really hurts my heart, because I feel like with social media, they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to be negative about
Right.
teachers, and they're allowed to say, well, this is going on or this is going on, without having
don't
all the
know.
facts. They
Right.
don't know, because
Yeah.
they're not in the trenches.
Yeah.
And I, when you say a defining moment, I would say that that's a negative defining moment, because I feel like it's getting worse, and we need to, educators are
Reel it
the
in.
hardest working people that I know. They don't go home at night and,
Right.
stop
Turn the
working.
TV on, right.
My husband will see it, because he lives that life at our house. Sometimes I have to shut it off,
You're
because
grading papers.
I'm
Yeah.
grading papers, I'm doing lesson plans, he's watching my daughter do lesson plans, and my son gather materials on the weekends. And teachers are very hardworking, and we don't often get the respect that we deserve. A positive defining moment for me was just today, and I have a really difficult class this year. I have a lot of kids that come from very needy lives, and very traumatized, very physical with me and other students. And one of my treasures, my favorites, but gives me a lot of gray hairs, gave this to me today, and he came up and kind of just threw it at me, and it was his name with a heart.
Oh. Right.
And that's why I do what I do,
Yeah.
is because as traumatized as he is, and as traumatized as some days he makes me, he still loves me.
Right. So
And I love what I do because of that.
okay. Now, tell us, what school are you at these days?
Oh, I'm at Gearing Elementary.
Okay.
Gosh, I've only taught 1st grade at Gearing. I think I am the oldest staff member there that's been in the district the longest. I believe on the seniority chart I'm like number 4 in East China, which I've
Right.
been around a long time.
Right. Well, it's funny because certain people over the years, I'll say, "Are you up to in the top tier yet? You know,
Yeah.
are you in the top 5? You know, and some move on, then you're in 4th. So yeah.
Still going strong. I love what I do.
So 32, like, who's been the longest, or what is it? 35, 37 years? Somebody?
No, I think we had at the back to school thing. We had, well, Janet was over 40 and she retired last year, Miss Cornish, and then I believe there's like some above 35s. I'm not sure exactly what years. Like I said, I'm 32, and the year that I was hired, there were 30-some people hired, so that was a big group. And then we had a lull for a while as our population decreased, and then this year I think was a big hiring year for East China.
So do you see an end in the not too distant future?
5-6 years maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's still
I
fun.
think I'm still. I think I'm still doing a good job. I think I'm still connecting every day with kids and with teachers, and I don't feel like I'm ready yet.
Yeah. And when I talk to people, and there's so many different livelihoods, people do different things, and some people retire early, some late. And if you like what you're doing, only you know.
Right. I don't know what I would do if I did retire. I might, I love the kids still. I love the classroom. I love learning. It's more than just my career. It's my hobby. I take classes on my own all the time and in service, and I still love what I do. And I feel like because I have kids in education and I have young teaching partners to mentor, I think I'm still in the trenches. I'm needed, I do photography a little bit on the side, but
Are you still doing a lot of the varsity games?
no, not since my kids graduated and left. And I am getting old, so when I go home at night, sometimes I don't have it in me, especially in the winter, to go out in dark and do basketball or
to bed by 9.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Up early.
How about your siblings? Talk about them a little bit.
Okay. Well, I have 5 siblings. My oldest brother, my dad owns a contracting company, Leonard C. Carnegie Incorporated, and they're contractors. And most of my family is involved in that. My oldest brother, Mike, works for the company and part owner. My second sister, Robin, she is, her husband works for our company. Then it's me, and my husband's a financial planner. We're the only ones that aren't involved in Leonard C. Carnegie Incorporated. And then my youngest sister, her husband works for the company, and her sons. And my oldest brother's son works for the company as well. And then my baby brother, Brian, who lives in the area, he's part owner in the company as well, and his son is now a senior and works summers in the company. So it's a family business.
Yeah, family business. Okay.
And we all live local, from Port Huron to Rome. I guess my sister lives in Ray Township to Macomb.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Okay.
To St. Clair.
Yeah. Okay. So your schedule really is at school long days, because you don't get home till 4 or 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
And then you go home and have a little dinner, create a few papers, get ready for the next day.
Yeah. I have 3 German Shepherds, so we're a big dog family at our house. And in the fall, we spend some weekends in Mississippi, cheering on the Rebs, or in the barn, doing home gating, we call it. Yeah, for the Rebs. They're playing Alabama this weekend, so go Rebs.
Alabama's probably got a target on them.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
So it's at Ole Miss?
It's at Ole Miss, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stadium?
Oh, it's amazing. The stadium's not huge, but the atmosphere in Mississippi, in the Grove, is, if you ever need a weekend to do something fun and exciting. In fact, there's a local group of guys going this weekend, and they're all talking about their Grove wear, and everybody dresses really fancy, from ruffles and dresses to blazers and ties, and everybody's family down there. You go down to the south and everybody loves you,
so
and they invite you to their tailgate.
That's got to be a whole different, almost like because I say college football in the way that the tailgating and the whole thing, it's like a culture.
It is, yes, it's very much a culture, and it's exciting. It's very welcoming, and it doesn't matter where you're from. Hey, can I join your tailgate? Sure, yeah. And everybody's just super nice, and the stadium and the atmosphere in the stadium is very cool.
And their head coach is a famous guy.
He's
too.
a famous guy, Lane.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
And he came, for people that don't know, he came from Alabama. He coached with Alabama, then left and came back. Then he's done his own things. Real good coach.
Yeah, football is a big part of our family because my son started at Michigan and worked in the football program, and then my daughter is a Sparty and graduated from East Lansing and still lives there. So we've always been big football followers, and that's how our fall. And then now we're going into those dull days of winter.
Right, it'll be over before you know it. So, well, thanks for coming.
No problem. It was great.
If you or anybody else knows of somebody else I should interview, the phone number's right there, 586-707-5811. You're number 43. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
been great.
Have a great day.
Thanks.